Hello and welcome to Future Campus. UNSW is hosting the New South Wales Higher Education Summit this Friday from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. And there's a great range of speakers, including Michael Cowling, reflecting on our war with Generation AI, Tim Fawns, looking at change and continuity in an entangled pedagogy perspective, and other tongue twisters, no doubt. And there is some really interesting panel discussions there as well. Welcome, Professors Patsy Polly and Alex Steele. Can you tell us a little bit about why you've chosen to focus on AI and assessment for this year's summit?
So apart from being the flavour of the decade or month, it is a topic that is of interest to us at the University of New South Wales, because we've got a program called a Nexus program, and that covers a few priority areas like assessment and feedback, belonging and wellbeing, will and industry relevant learning, societal impact, and equity and diversity. And the reality is, I guess, that AI can work across all those domains. And the issue of assessment is not only a hot topic, but somehow really feeds into the idea of the student experience as well. So the idea of promoting the best possible student experience that we could possibly provide for our students on campus, and I guess online as well, and where AI fits in all of that, because generative AI has had its really its place in the sun for quite a bit now, but how are we going to get this embedded in the way we learn, teach, and behave as professionals?
And do you think we have the answers to those things yet, Patsy, or are we just really exploring at the margins at this point?
And this is the point of the summit. This conversation that we've facilitated at the University of New South Wales is an area of exploring ideas and having that conversation and having the difficult discussions together, right? So it's not only the idea of looking at the scholarship and where the future is heading, but also possibly, talking about areas of, areas that we don't like to know about or don't like to talk about every day, but that will make a great impact in the future. So it is an area, a space for us to come together as academics and professionals who work in higher education to have that, conversation.
Absolutely. Alex, there's been an intense focus on AI and assessment, as Patsy's saying. I mean, in part as a result of Texas requirements, politely termed request for information, for universities to demonstrate a credible action plan and appropriate governance mechanisms. Do you think we know what credible or appropriate are in that context? And do you think Texas is going to help us find out?
I think we do. So governance, I think, is the easy end of it. It's just making sure that we've got our policies and our committee structures all flexible enough to have absorbed the implications of generative AI. And in lots of ways, that's not just about sort of naming and shaming in a sense, it's about enabling. So it's about making sure that what we're doing through our governance processes allows us to actually take the best out of AI and use it as responsibly as we can. The credibility in the action plan, I think, really is an interesting choice of words, because what texts are really saying to us is we don't want these big strategies that say every university in Australia will be the best in the world in 3 years' time. What they actually want us to do is to actually be honest and say, look, this is difficult. There aren't magic bullet solutions here. What is it that you're actually doing in a sort of a step-by-step way that will actually sort of put us into a better position? And I think the credibility aspect of it, for me, has a lot to do with the way in which the universities work together. So rather than each of us trying to solve this for ourselves, trying to come together and trying to have conversations about it. And lots of the wisdom is really in the room, and it's really from the people who are actually doing the teaching. So a summit like this is an amazing chance to get it. It's in the middle of the year before we're too exhausted, where we've had we've had a term or a semester at teaching in a sort of an AI environment. And it's a fantastic sort of midwinter chance to get together, have a drink and sort of talk about how things are going and what we can do together to actually harness the benefits of AI. But before we do that, to be able to recognise what the issues are that we have to confront in order to have that sort of glorious future.
Now, maybe this is another good question, a follow-up for you, Alex. Students and a number of lecturers are still telling me the only students that they think are being caught by the AI detection tools that their institutions are using are the ones who aren't very good at AI. So where most of the students who are good at AI are evading detection with the current tools. Do you think that's a problem?
I think it's a problem if our main mindset is that we are trying to catch students doing the wrong thing. So if we're creating assessments that are easily answered with AI in a way that we don't want them answered, then we really need to think about whether or not that assessment is fit for purpose. So it's a combination. I think there's only a small percentage of students who actually want to cheat. Most students are really saying, can you tell us what we are allowed to do with AI in these assignments so that then we can actually use them? Because both teachers and students want all of our graduates to be employable, and being employable means using AI. So we've got to find a way to build capacity and skill with AI, but we've also got to do it in a way that we know that they understand the basics and there are certain things they can do without AI. And it's working that through at the moment, I think, which is the challenge that we're all working through.
So Patsy, maybe this one's for you. That we know there's lecturers who are very advanced in implementing AI and others who don't deliberately use it at all. They might use it inadvertently and they might not even realize necessarily that they're using it. They're not big fans. Do we need more training for academic staff? How do we bring it out across and democratize its use across the faculty?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the short answer is yes. And I think all of us need training, both students and staff, and we'll probably learn effectively from one another. So it's quite, it would be fair to say that some of our academic colleagues, for example, in the engineering faculty, would be way more advanced than someone like me, for example, at using AI tools and machine learning and so on. So I guess learning from each other and upskilling is one perspective, but also probably getting a set of recommendations that we can adhere to as a community as well, so we know how to use this tool properly and upskill, in our fields.
Now,
and I think the key thing there is that there isn't an instruction manual. There's nobody who has actually worked out how to use AI the right way and can tell us. So we're all learning it together. And some people, have more background or are more adept at these sorts of things. But it's exactly as Patsy's saying, it's a community effort. We're all sort of finding different ways to use it. One of I think the really amazing and fascinating things about generative AI is it's not a tool. It's not like a shovel. It's not just for digging holes. It's really whatever you want it to be. And a lot of it has to do with you imagining the way in which the tool can be used and the way in which you can create the prompts to do that. And then just as importantly, working out how you can check that the response is accurate. And that ability to check accuracy in responses is something that I think universities in particular are really well placed to help the broader community with, because that's part of our job, testing for truth.
Yeah, that's a good point, Alex. And the whole idea of having that element of standards and professional behaviour that comes through with the use of a technology like this is super important.
and so Patsy, we were talking earlier about the importance of AI, but also the wider, how it touches on many other issues that the Academy is working on overall. Can you give us a sense of how does it all fit together in terms of that broad range of issues that you're working on? How do we not just get lost in AI, but also keep our eyes on these other areas that are very important?
I think we're going to have a good conversation about pedagogy and training and upskilling students, and not only upskilling, but really the whole idea of this university environment is to teach and enable thinking for our students so they can become the next generation of, professional leaders in our communities, right? So the whole idea of getting us all upskilled, understanding how to use this technology, not only at university within the assessment framework or assessment tasks that students have, but in their workplace. So we're talking about, I guess, graduate employability and the skills that the employers would be looking at, because let's face it, the industry is probably way ahead of us in terms of each of our discipline pathways. So we have to prepare for that. We have to prepare students for their next phase.
Is there a disconnect that we're facing at the moment between what parents are expecting for their undergraduate children to go and study, what undergraduates then expect to do when they transition to postgraduates, and then when graduates emerge out into industry? We're all using AI and other and reevaluating what education is at different rates. Where does the academy sit with all that in trying to solve that giant problem?
Can I just start, Alex, and you can take over? I would say this has been an age-old problem over the years, this idea of a generation gap, what our parents want us to be and do and what we want to be and do. So I guess it's a question of finding your feet as a person who's transiting through a university degree program, you know, the school of life, as many people might like to call it in the general public arena, and finding what suits your pathway and what you want to do as a person who's attending university. And parents, you know, they have a different perspective. They have wisdom, of course, but they may actually be scared of some of these technologies. And I don't think their children are as scared as they are. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think you don't want to say AI is the latest fad, because it is genuinely disruptive and genuinely revolutionary, but the underlying knowledge hasn't changed. The how to build a bridge hasn't changed. Physics, you know, is still there. So there are lots of things that AI can help you with, but the fundamental questions, the meaning of life, why things go up and why things go down, how people behave with each other, what rules of social sort of etiquette are, they haven't changed. And universities have an interesting sort of role in that we're taking students in an undergraduate sense, and we're preparing them for their first job. They have to be able to leave university and get their first job. But the reason they've come to university and not done the course online is because the university degree prepares them for the job after that and the job after that. And it's this sort of lifelong framework that we give people irrespective of the job they go into. So the tension we always have as we're putting together curriculum is, how can we make sure that what we're helping our students to learn gets them that first job, but also sets them up for long-term success? And so, and AI is just part of that mix. So how do we make sure that the students understand the responsible use of AI really in lots of ways, rather than how to do it? Because they'll learn how to create prompts better than we can. But hopefully we've got some sort of longer term perspective on the implications of the way in which AI gets used. And that knowledge then helps them through their career and helps society sort of as a whole. So I think that's sort of where we position ourselves. We do immediate help, but we think about long-term change and support.
Well, I think that gives us about 5 good reasons why we should all be signing up and attending either in person or virtually for Friday's Higher Education Summit. You can search for New South Wales HE Summit, as I did just before, and Google will find it in the top 3 answers for me. And you can attend live online, as you say. But if you do attend live, there is always the benefit of drinks and canapes at the end, plus some networking. Thanks very much for your time. Can't wait to see the summit.
Thank you.